The following lecture is merely for fun, and as a brief overview of the very vast lore of Elden RIng. The majority of the information is from a few sources, my own many playthroughs of the game, the theories my brother and I have crafted, the ever-knowledgeable Vati Vidya, u/Aurelius_Red on Reddit, and the Lore Boys podcast for a few memes along the way. I'm sure this is riddled with errors, but it's just for fun, really. Thank you for watching.
Where the fuck is everybody? I'm here late.
All right, class.
We're
Back in session. So, as you can see, these are dark times for the university. I was fighting a crack addict for some copper wire, and he took out my eye.
Did you also take out the rest of the class?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So, as you know, Trump is currently canceling visas for international students, and unfortunately, one of our other students has been
Are they all
deported.
from the lands between?
No, but they were part of Tren de Aragua. That was sort of the problem. But thankfully, I'm still here today. They told me this was an eye infection. I believe I am hosting an outer god, so slight disagreement there.
And I thought you got hit by a cat.
Well, shit happens. So today we are actually going to be discussing Elden RIng, one of the most talked about games in the last 5 years. We have previously done courses on Dark Souls, which is of course made by the same company, and also done a course on the World of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin's fictional universe. And this is very unique because it is made by the Dark Souls people. However, it was partially written by George R. R. Martin. So that's why we're here today. Despite the fact that there are some things that are out of order in the classroom, I have upgraded one thing. So, frame. I have a better pointer this time, that being Blackfire, the Valyrian blade of Magor, the Wise, as I'll call him. So I have been granted access to this. Wanna try me, white boy?
Is this what happens with the word of the day?
Yeah, yes,
You just get
execution.
stabbed?
Please no. I'm
So,
the only student
I
left.
chose to make an example today. So, this right here has been here for a while.
No! Leo!
Leo!
Don't fuck with me.
Oh no.
Okay.
Alright, now that's established, so we're going to talk about the development of Elden RIng behind the scenes before we get into the full thing. So, like I said, I told you about who made it.
Wait,
have
what's
here-
the word of the day?
The word of the day is ring.
Ooh.
Yeah. Whoever says it the most times will be executed afterwards.
So I will be referring to it as the Elden Trinket.
Mm-hmm.
What are you referring to that as instead of?
I can't say.
If you could
That
just
word doesn't
periodically make
exist.
sure it's still counting up.
Yeah. I'm
So-
looking at the red dot.
If you would
That
like to
flashes.
zoom in slightly, I have an artistic depiction of what the development of Elden RIng looked like, with Hidetaka Miyazaki, the director of the game, alongside George R. R. Martin and Pickle Rick in the Star Wars Cantina.
That's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
All right,
He
you wanna
turns
zoom
up
back
into a
out here?
pickle.
So, this is very interesting. So George R. R. Martin has undertaken any and ever, he's not finished a book in 14 years, or one of his series, which people rag on him about, but you know, whatever. He's rich, he can do what he wants.
You also called him Dire Wolf, right?
Yes, he brought back a dire wolf recently.
What?
He has undertaken any and all side projects to get out of writing his book, which I, as a procrastinator, I very much respect. One of these was hanging out with these Japanese guys, and he basically just like did a bunch of like sessions where they basically played D&D and developed the world like game masters because they're
Okay,
both all
that's
massive nerds. And so they came up with the lands between, the setting we will discuss in just a second. It was really cool. It's been the passion project of Hidetaka Miyazaki, who had made the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne, Sekiro, others I'm forgetting, Demon Souls. What he always really wanted to do was this, because this is on a scale that's insane compared to all the other games. Way more bosses, yes.
Wasn't Bloodborne that like hero shooter that failed?
No.
Which one was Bloodborne?
Bloodborne is a PlayStation exclusive. I have not played it, but it's a
Souls-like, right?
It's a Souls-like in a Lovecraftian setting.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Did it perform
If you
well?
own a PlayStation, yes, very well.
Oh, okay.
If you own a PlayStation, play it for me, because I can. So, the Lands Between starts as any good fantasy thing does, which is from the primeval current of the void nothingness. From here, stars and other celestial bodies come into being. Of special note is the moon that sits above the lands between, and it's very evident and very powerful in the night sky. Moon is possibly a god. And so the lands between is this continent here. You don't really need to zoom in. I'm going to be referencing points on it, but it's kind of too small to matter here. But the lands between is a continent. There are lands, and it is where the game takes place, aside from the DLC, which is somewhere else. And so we are beginning Book 1, Genesis.
Nice.
But just like the Bible, because this is a little bit more important than the Bible.
Okay.
But the lands between itself is just one continent. There are other ones that are referenced, such as the Badlands, where the Vikings come from.
So Scandinavia.
Scandinavia. There's the land of the East, because we have to have fantasy Japan.
Yes, yeah.
And there's samurai in the game,
Okay.
as well as katana. Yes.
Have they mapped the whole world?
No.
Is it round? Okay.
So, and then part of the thing is the lands between is the center of causality in the world. We'll get to it in a bit.
Okay.
But it is like imagine if there was one spot on the Earth in which you could turn on or off gravity.
Mecca.
Like, yeah, Mecca. Like,
Okay,
the
great.
comma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is important in a way that other places on the Earth aren't.
Okay.
Well, whatever this world is. And so the world is formed out of the primeval current. And part of this becomes known as the greater will and the crucible. And so everything is one in the beginning, and then there's a fracture. The greater will is a metaphysical force that represents order, and it's also considered an outer god. We'll explain what that is in a second.
Okay.
However, there's also a fracture with the crucible. The crucible is a force of chaos. Symbols of the crucible include thorns, horns, other such like sort of wild aspects. Whereas the golden order is about what you would think it is, right?
Yeah. Peace, order.
Yeah, divine. And so
Yeah.
the greater will is the source of life. The crucible is life, but more wild.
Okay.
Life is also represented by gold, which is also known as grace, and it's like a gold aura.
Is silver
and so-
an antithesis of something, or is it just? Okay.
Silver isn't really involved. Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So, the lands between, I already told you geographically speaking where that is. Keep paying attention. Sorry. Just making sure we don't lose anything.
That's for you, audience.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to talk about what is the Elden Ring. The Elden Ring is located in the center of the map, in the capital city of Leyndell.
Laying down.
Leyndell.
Laying down. Okay.
Laying down.
And Leyndell, this is the center of the causality of the world.
Okay.
It's like a
The
city.
Elden Ring, as we will talk about later, is sort of, imagine if you could go into like a terminal, a computer terminal, and it's more metaphysical than this, obviously, this is a fantasy setting, but imagine if you go into a computer terminal and like turn on and off different like laws of physics.
Okay.
That's what
It's
the
like a
Elden
man
Ring
block.
is. And so before it was the Elden Ring, it is it's often referred to as the Crucible. There was something there. There was something there. We don't know quite what it was before the Elden Ring. Yes.
So, like physically,
Yeah.
is it like an actual like thing you
Piece
wear?
of jewelry.
No,
Jewelry,
the
or is
Elden
it like a
Ring-
building?
Elden Ring is a sigil. And if you can go in and it's like a spinning ring on this like platform.
So it's
And around
like a
it-
gyrosphere.
It's
Yeah,
like
later-
a Doctor Strange type thing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Later around it will be a giant tree called the Erd tree, which is your Yggdrasil.
Got it. Okay, so it's just the
Yggdrasil.
typical world
Sure.
tree.
Yeah, but
like,
before that, we
mythology.
don't exactly know what's there, but we knew it was the sign of the crucible of chaos.
Okay.
And so
Like the
But
Hunger
later
Games.
on, part of much like the other Souls game, death is diegetic in these games, meaning it's canon if you die in there.
Okay.
Because later on, we will see someone will turn off death as part of the source code of the world. And so in the game, if you die, canonically you respawn at one of these points of grace, which are sort of like guideposts. Yeah.
Is there a way to permanently vanquish somebody?
Within the lore of the game, yes. You as the
Okay.
Tarnished have grace, which basically means you're anchored to the to life for now.
Okay. Sorry, if this is jumping ahead.
No, it's fine. We get this out of the way here. But when you die, you absorb someone's runes, which is like souls in the Soulsborne
Okay.
series, or blood in Bloodborne. And when you absorb that, you can power up, right? And so you're absorbing their essence. If you were to kill a very powerful creature, you get its essence.
Okay.
People who die and aren't absorbed, like they're not killed, their soul would return to the Elden Ring or later the Erd Tree
Okay.
and be recycled, basically.
Got it. Okay.
So,
Well, it's very similar to like the weave in D&D, where
yes, almost exactly.
How come when you're killed, they don't absorb your essence?
I just said you
You're
are
anchored.
you have an anchor point. These
You're like
anchor points called
special.
Sites of grace. Yes, you are
Not
chosen in a way
vampires.
we'll talk about later.
Okay, that's
Much like the chosen undead of Dark Souls.
I see.
Okay, so we're gonna explain different kinds of gods. So their outer gods are like not quite capital G gods, but like things you don't interrupt with. They're like elder gods in Lovecraftian mythos.
yeah.
What time are we at? Just asking.
We're at 10:23.
Cool. Like I said, I think it resets at about 40. But outer gods, you don't interact with them personally, unless you're very powerful and you can commune with them. We have what are called demigods, which are sons of regular gods, which I'll say in a second. So what's important is there are these beings called Emprians. Emprians are someone, quote, born of one god. We'll talk about
Okay,
that later,
sure.
what that means. Emprians are people who can host an outer god and embody them and be a god among Earth.
Okay, so kind of like an avatar of that god.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to be very powerful ahead of time to be there, and we'll talk about more of the mechanics of that later on. But what this is a game of capture the flag, by which to control the world, if you were an Emprian, you will an outer god has to choose your favor, and you would go to the center where the Erd Tree is, where the Crucible was, and you will ascend to godhood. And you have to have the favor of an outer god, and you have to have a consort with you, someone to ground you to the physical world, a husband or wife of significant power.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you become what is called a god. And what I mean by being capture the flag is this is what creates different ages. So in the beginning, there's whatever was happening with the Crucible. We're going to get into another age shortly, and then the age of the Erd Tree is the primary one. So like I said, you need outer god to favor an Emprian. Emprian can ascend to godhood, and there's someone who will later be called the Elden Lord, who's their consort.
So there are 4 ingredients to make a god. You have to have a pre-existing god.
Outer god,
Yeah, a pre-existing outer god, a very powerful person who has that outer god's favor, a companion to that person,
Yes.
and then the source of power in the world, be that the crucible, the tree, or the trinket.
Yes.
They're not becoming like an outer god though. They're only
No.
becoming like god with
A god on Earth, yeah.
and they
It's
can still
lowercase
get
g.
like killed
Okay.
and stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It's very difficult and it requires some
Because they have
metaphysical shit
like
to happen.
magical powers and stuff after
Yeah.
they get like promoted.
Yeah, you become a god. Like
Okay,
that's
yeah.
It's like comparing Cthulhu to Apollo.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. I
Greek
see.
god, like the petty personal kind of
Yeah.
god
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
like unknowable, whatever.
Like the
So-
Christian god versus a Greek god.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're going to list a few of these outer god deities. So there used to be the one great, which is that primordial current, they call it, no longer exists. It splits into 2 different ones. We're not, beyond just the Crucible, there's a god called the Frenzied Flame. And so the sign of sentience in these games is 5 fingers. Having 5 fingers means you're a civilized being. And that's why humans become so important. However, there are these physical things called the fingers. In the game, you can meet the 2 fingers and the 3 fingers. The 2 fingers are a giant hand with only 2 fingers. 3 fingers, wait for it, giant hand with only 3 fingers. These are the 3 fingers.
Okay.
Whoa!
He can
Whoa!
flip you
Whoa!
off.
Whoa! He's
Good.
flipping you
And
off.
then the 2 fingers is like this.
Okay, and they
Are they
opposites of each other?
yes,
that came
and
from
they're-
the same hand?
They are, yes. So they were assumably when it was the one great,
Yeah.
5 fingers.
Sure.
Got it.
Now they've split into the Frenzied Flame, which is order, like nihilism, madness. That's what the
Okay.
Frenzied Flame is.
Order and madness being the same thing seems contradictory.
No, so sorry, disorder, madness.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It sees births and structure as bad things to be destroyed. It doesn't want anything to continue.
Hang on. It went down to like a minute, but it's still going.
Okay, then we're good. It probably reset to a new one.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
we're good. So Yeah. So it's like an anti-natalist force. It wants everyone to die so that we can all return to the one thing.
Okay.
It wants entropy, basically.
Okay, that's cool.
There are shocking parallels to my D&D lore.
I mean, it's all like world.
No, right. This is
right?
all.
This
you
is
got
like
the chaos.
I mean, you
entity,
could even
got
say
the
this is
light
like sort of
entity.
Gnostic with the I can't think of what it's called, but they got the regular God and they got the anti something. I can't think of what it's called. Gnostic belief, but it's their version of the devil that's trying to subvert creation.
Well, it's
Yeah,
either
yeah.
that or they stole this all from Gorman.
No.
They stole your D&D plot and they wrote Elden.
Possible.
They wrote the Elden game off of
Demiurge.
that.
That's what's called Gnosticism.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so
Wait, question about the hand thing.
yeah.
It's just like 2 of them, or there are like multiple like.
You'll
3
see multiple.
fingers.
You can meet multiple 2 fingers. You can see multiple 3 fingers.
Okay.
What they are, these beings are basically antenna for these outer gods to receive information.
They're only the hands though.
Yeah, and then you'll
They're
meet these
big.
people called finger maidens who are supposed to interpret what the antennas are saying,
Got it.
and it'll become later. Are they lying? Like because they're
Right.
Are they floating or are they like crawling?
One more question about.
they're
the
stationary for the most part when we see them.
They stay in one
Okay.
spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more question about the hand thing.
Yeah.
You said having 5 fingers is a symbol of intelligence. So just being a Diogenes, haha, I've chopped off a finger. Behold, an unintelligent creature.
Well, if you think about it, like the god itself is severed.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's almost like the god is less intelligent and less whole than it used to be.
Oh.
Okay.
So there's a sort of like original sin type thing here.
Got it.
A few other outer gods we go to. So the greater will is the one that's 2 fingers, that's order, we got that.
Sure.
There is the formless mother, who is a god of blood. Cool.
Yeah.
Moving
Yeah,
on.
she sounds scary.
The goddess of scarlet rot. At some point, it was
okay.
sealed physically underneath the ground in a place called Kaled, which is over here.
I know that boss.
I'm not gonna.
It's goddess of scarlet rot. There is a one-eyed god of fire, which is worshipped by the giants. And so at one point, multiple of these outer gods will be sealed in the eyes of one of them. So the god, that fire giant you talked about, who is a boss that a lot of people find very difficult, has the god of flame sealed in its eye.
Okay.
And I actually also have a god sealed in my eye.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly what's happening. Does that show up on camera?
Yeah,
already?
it's-
Yeah. So
I don't think
actually
it's showing
also,
up, but I see it. It's really scary. Ah!
So I also have a god sealed in my eye.
It wasn't
I
a
think,
cat scratch.
I think it's a formless mother, but I'm not sure. So
Why?
Okay.
we'll keep that for now.
Yeah.
I told you there's production value for this one.
Yeah.
There's a god of the death birds, maybe. Don't worry about the death birds.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like
birds,
corvids?
death.
What other creatures are there? Are there like elves?
We'll go along them as mostly humans and like human adjacent creatures.
Like
not
giants?
I know that
Yeah,
they're,
giants.
How many fingers do the giants have?
You know, I think it's 5, but I'm not sure. That's a
Okay.
good question.
Okay.
I'll correct that in the comments. So there's also a god of the dragons. It might be a god we already know, but yeah. The Crucible, we already went after that. So the area we could call the lands between. Let's get a show of hands here. Who guessed? Show of fingers. Let's guess what race was the primordial ones that inherited, that controlled the earth before humans. Can we get a guess? What kind of fantasy creature? Yeah.
Elf.
No.
The giants.
Nope.
No?
Dragon?
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're
Yep.
old.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just like in
Skyrim and Ice
Dark
and
Souls.
Fire.
Yeah.
And Dark Souls. Yeah.
And so the area we call the lands between was ruled by dragons mostly, and the giants had their own little pockets, a little bit right. But the people who controlled the center of the map, the dragons, they could have worshipped the greater will, or they could have worshipped something else. We're not sure. And so these dragons are very large, and their scales are made of, you wait for this, immortal stone scales,
Oh.
Yes.
nigh unkillable.
That's pretty
their
cool.
Their king is Placidusax. Say that name 3 times fast.
It's similar enough to Parthenax.
Yeah, Placidusax.
That's the word.
His scales can actually bend time around him,
That's cool.
which is very
That is
interesting.
cool.
And so giants and dragons tend to evolve into smaller species over time. We'll get into how the dragons happened, or what it did with them. But you'll meet smaller things like drakes and wyverns, and those are their descendants.
bearded dragons.
Because that humans are actually thought to be descended from giants in a silly way. That we're, I guess technically they're regular and then we're pygmies, but that's also from Dark Souls.
Well, I mean, gigantism was something from the past.
And it's because
Yeah.
of the lack of oxygen from the
from the
ancient
And
times.
so
Galaxy.
it said humans are
Yeah.
born of stardust at one point.
Oh.
And thus are technically children of Stardust, bless you. And
Thank you.
some guy named Emir in the DLC, as well as some other characters, suggest that we're special somehow because we're born of the stars. And the stars are something metaphysical. We'll talk about this later when we get to the Academy of Raya Lucaria.
Alright.
But what? Yeah, I've unleashed the outer god upon you. Stop sneezing, or else I'll kill you
So
with a
quickly.
sword.
No.
But it suggested that somehow, if the stars aren't an outer god, then if we're born of it, that might mean somehow we're special because we're not bound to the whims of a god.
Oh yeah.
We might have some sort of like Christian idea of free will or something.
Yeah,
like
They're
that.
in some like
Possibly.
weird different system.
And so there seems to be an older Elden like symbol, and so the dragons build something, which I think used to be in the center, where the capital city in the Elden Ring is called Crumbling Farum Azula. It was not crumbling at the time.
Okay.
That's where the dragons rule, and that's where Placidus acts is.
Iron Azula.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so it's intentionally mysterious, but there seems to be an older Elden Ring like symbol. And so Dragon Lord Placidus Acts is chosen as the first Elden Lord before the age of the Erd Tree. And so he rules from there. Like I said, I don't know which outer god he favors, but
And this is the first regular god?
he might be a god. He might have been a consort to an even more divine being we don't know.
Okay, but he was somehow in that 4-step process.
Yes, he's somewhere in there, and he's chosen to rule. And there's also Meter, the mother of fingers, which isn't super important. But I told you how there are many 2 fingers and many 3 fingers.
Yeah.
It's a being off map that lives, and it births these.
Okay.
Oh, it
So
like
it's-
made them?
Meter is like the.
Use the factory that makes the satellite.
Yes, it is the one, and it's also the key antenna.
Okay.
What-
Okay.
what
okay.
does it
so
look
it's the
like?
communications array.
Big ass hand, wouldn't you believe it?
All of it?
Yeah.
The whole,
All 5
all
fingers?
5?
Yep.
Oh
Okay.
Are
man.
we still rolling?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool.
We're
Just let
chilling.
me know. I was just making sure you pay attention.
I have no fear.
So, now we get an issue with the dragon rule. There is Bale the Black Tread. Now, something you remember from our Dark Souls. What happens when there's a dragon born not immortal? It gets resentful. Or gets resentful
It
of
gets
the other
pissed
dragon.
And it
off.
finds a way to kill the other dragons, probably.
And I will point out, in Song of Ice and Fire, there is a dragon known as Balerion the Black Dread. This is Bale the Black Dread.
Yes. Nice.
Twin brother.
So he betrays the ancient dragons and clash with Placidus Axe. Placidus Axe has 5 heads. 5 hands, sign of
Oh, I
intelligence.
see.
Bale bites off 2 of his arms, and I think 3 of his heads.
Damn.
Placidus Axe looks like King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
How many arms does he have? None now?
He has like 2 or 3. I can't remember.
Okay, that's problematic.
And so, Bale the Dread becomes the progenitor of the race known as the Drakes. Is where I'll say, we do not fuck with Drakes, hashtag not like us.
Oh.
And much like real Drake,
Whoa.
he likes children because
Oh,
Bale.
no.
Because
No.
Bale. So this is an
Eating
implication.
them?
So he is the progenitor of the race of the Drakes,
Okay.
meaning all of them are his descendants.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Grail, the mother of the Drakes. It would have to be his daughter that he then
Yeah.
reproduced.
Well,
with.
I mean, this is the guy who wrote Ice and Fire. There's gonna be
Yeah.
incest.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Dragon
Okay.
incest. Drake incest.
And so, as punishment for his betrayal, Placidus Axe creates the Ark of Dragon Communion, which creates an order of Drake warriors who are there to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a drink?
No, that was the communion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Is
and so-
Drake a dragon?
Drake is the lesser dragon.
It's like just a
The
small
evil-
dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're the evil ones that Bale has birthed the race.
Because they're not immortal.
Well, they're not immortal, and
They come from the one guy who wasn't immortal first, so they're all pissed.
Yeah, and so the ancient dragons seem to mostly keep to themselves, versus these ones are flying around everywhere trying to,
They fuck with people.
Are they weak? Like weaker than the dragons?
Weaker than the dragons. Compared to you or I, they're pretty strong.
Yeah. I don't
But
want to fight a Drake barehanded.
Yeah, unless it's Aubrey Drake Graham, then I will fight him barehanded.
Okay.
The rapper.
Wow.
But the drakes are like, they're an invasive species. They just keep spawning and, you know, going everywhere. Much like the dragons in Skyrim. I know they don't reproduce, but they're just everywhere and they're annoying. If you're trying to build any sort of civilization.
Yeah, they're annoying.
Yeah, that would suck.
And so, there's a guy named Dragon Slayer Igon, which, if you remember, there's a character named Aegon.
Mm-hmm. Does he have one eye, Igon?
No. He's an obsessive Drake warrior, and the Drake warriors are Colt the Dragon sponsor. And they're warriors, and they eat the hearts of drakes.
Oh.
They become more powerful. Eventually, that does corrupt them if they eat too many of them.
Okay.
And they turn into big worms, magma worms.
Oh.
Also a thing that exists in A Song of Ice and Fire, magma worms.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that Igon is one of these guys, and he tries to face Bale, but he's left broken in body and spirit, where he gets his legs crippled. And so,
and Bale is a Drake.
mm-hmm.
How is he beating all these dragons?
No, this guy was a warrior trained by the dragons. Assumedly he's human, right?
Igon?
Yeah.
He was asking about how Bale beat the immortal dragons.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're not totally, they're immortal, but they're not invincible.
Is Bale just like really strong?
Yeah, he's strong, and he's got that dog in him.
He's just really
Once
determined.
again, well, like I said, the dragons are largely, much like the dragons of Dark Souls, they're very static. They don't seem to be really doing much. The scales of time I told you about, like they tend to basically keep things like in like.
They're basically just really like chill and complacent because
Yeah,
they've been
They have
around
more
for so
important
long.
Things to do
Placinisax in the area where he lives, it's basically like a time loop. Where he keeps everything the way it
Yeah, and I mean
was.
they're the top of the food chain, right? I mean they've got no one they're even really messing with.
Based on the fact that Bale was able to take like 3 heads off of Placinisax,
Yeah.
it's fair to say he wasn't ready to get jumped.
Okay,
I don't know if he had
right,
done a
right.
lot of combat before that. So they're just a complacent race.
I see.
And so the dragon god departs for some reason, whatever it is, and abandons them. And so now there are people without a god. And assumably if there was a lowercase g god amongst them, it would lose the power because it lost the favor of
Oh right.
Yeah.
of the
That
thing.
would suck.
RK.
Yeah, so there are also underneath, not pictured, there are vast caverns where underground civilizations form.
Okay.
And that's where the first humans live.
That makes
Yes.
sense with dragons.
Where the below is Dark Souls.
Mhm.
So there becomes the Carian royal family is over here in Liurnia, and they become the sorcerers who practice glintstone sorcery,
Yeah.
which is a kind of magic based on the stars and later based on gravity.
Okay.
This is where we don't know if the stars are an outer god or not. And when they say, later on when you talk to them, they say that a future led by the stars is a future not tied to the power of a god. So it's it's possible that that is the correct option for humanity,
Yeah.
to go glintstone. So there is
Is that like one of the options you can do in the game?
Maybe it is.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
So once again, it could be another outer god, but we don't know for sure. The fact that we haven't heard of an outer god in there bodes well for that being a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
And so
say.
they channel the power of the stars to create glintstone sorceries. And they establish an academy called Raya Lucaria, where everyone studies that. Moon and stars are sort of their thing.
They can do like magic with it.
Yeah, like shoot comments.
Yeah,
at
like
you.
wizard battle.
Most of the great spells in the game are of the glintstone sorceries.
Yes.
However, the primeval current is something I talked about before, and the primeval current is sort of is studying gravity magic, and some people think that's evil, or at least something it shouldn't be fucked with, because gravity is related directly to the causality.
Yeah.
Watch how in real life physics gravity can bend time.
Yeah.
Can bend time to it. Assumably fucking with the gravity magic isn't great.
Yeah.
And so they start, there's a schism between them where some people who want to study gravity magic are purged.
This is like
And-
this
yeah.
is like when they were making the particle accelerator and
Yeah.
people were like, this is gonna destroy the planet and
Yeah.
the universe, we shouldn't do it.
And so only those who are extremely trusted, it's created a group of people called the Conspectus, and they're the only people allowed to study gravity.
Okay.
And so the Greater will banish those humans underground previously, we assume, and that's why they're down there. And there was an ancient prophecy that there would be a Lord of Night that would free them from there and return them to the stars of the above.
Okay.
Once again, more evidence that this might be the correct option for humanity.
Yeah.
They want to
And
not
they
be
start
underground.
down there. They construct a finger slayer blade. That's using the corpse of a god.
Ooh.
Which god?
We don't know. That's the thing.
Could it be the?
Well, they're not around anymore. So.
Right. Yeah.
Could it be the dragon one?
Mm-hmm. I guess it could be. Yeah, that might be how it left. Crumbling Farum Azula, well, just Farum Azula at the time, is in the center. Huge meteorite comes down, smashes it, sends it out into over here where it is now.
Okay.
And basically, it's
the meteorite or the city?
The city. The meteorite stays
Okay.
there. City gets thrown out. It's because in Placidus Acts, as the hero he is, basically puts it in a time loop where it's always crumbling, but never completely goes away because it like resets.
Okay, that's a pretty cool concept.
And so he goes into basically, it's like one of the, it's like the second to last area you go to in the game. It's very cool. We rolling? Sorry.
Yeah, we're good. No,
I'll
we're
stop
good.
after a
Before you
while.
go
Have
to
no
the
fear.
space and fight them.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
Maybe. But so that lands, and this is where the Erd tree starts to spring up soon, in the center. In the center, and there's something called the Elden Beast, which is the embodiment of the greater will on Earth. It basically looks like a plesiosaur, like a big Loch Ness monster.
I have seen an image of this.
It's a Loch Ness monster, except he's holding a sword.
Yeah.
Does it live in the water?
It lives in a big pond in the center of the Elden Ring.
It is the Loch Ness monster.
Yes.
Does he kill dragons?
Does he
Can it
kill
kill
dragons?
dragons?
Oh, totally could fuck him up.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
And so the Elden Beast becomes the present Elden Ring, or like it lives in the, because when you go there, you go to where you can see the physical Elden Ring.
Yes.
And then after a while, when you're fucking around with it, then it summons the beast into its pond.
So this is currently the consort to the god?
It's an embodiment of an outer god on Earth. It's outside of that.
Okay,
it's
so it's
outside
not
of
in that
dichotomy.
4-step program.
No.
Okay.
No, no.
It's like its own avatar of itself.
Yes.
It's not even like an avatar. It's just like its form.
Well, we told me
on
about
Earth.
how the Scarlet Rock God was sealed at some point.
Yes,
It seems like they can send down physical manifestations. However, that comes with the drawback that you can't fuck up that physical manifestation.
Yeah.
Got it.
I see.
And so there's an ancient massive tree takes over the crucible, and that becomes the Erd tree.
Okay.
And you can see, by the way, within the the Erd tree, when you go in there, you can see evidence of the crucible by a bunch of thorns that are inside of it.
That's
Okay.
super cool. That's good
So
symbolism.
so within the tree are the vestiges of the crucible and the thorns.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in the game, the thorns actually restrict you from being able to get in, and you have to figure out a way around it.
That's cool.
That is cool.
So we are now to the part of Girl Boss Cometh.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's actually, if you look down at this
Slay.
continent shape, there's a bit in the middle that where it's just the ocean. There used to be something there.
Okay.
And there lived a place there named America. I've called her as a girl boss.
Okay.
You're gonna notice, by the way, all the characters who are the gods and demigods, their names start with a G, an R, or an M, the initials of George R.R. Martin.
That's funny.
Okay.
That's
And
a
so
little
she is the people
narcissistical.
of a village of shamans. I don't know what they do. They're shamans.
Okay.
Cool. And there's a race called the Hornsent who live by them. The Hornsent, horns, they love the crucible. Big ups to the
Yeah,
crucible.
they like the thorn.
Yeah, they worship horns, they worship thorns, they worship anything weird fucked
pointy.
up and wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a cool civilization going. Except they're not very chill to anyone who isn't like them.
Okay.
And so they actually massacre America's village and shove them into pots.
Oh.
They grind up their bodies
Oh.
and put them into pots,
Huh.
and then turn the pots into sentient pot golems that do their bidding.
Okay.
Yeah.
And America does not.
Not a
get
fan of
killed?
it.
Okay.
And so she has 2 kids at this point. We don't know who the dad is. We have theories about this later. We're pretty sure we know who it is, but we'll introduce them later. But there's Mesmer and Melina or Melina.
Ah, I've heard of that one.
Nope, different person.
Oh.
All these they're gonna get. Remember how bad the song by was
Oh
on names.
God. Okay.
Okay, and so Mesmer has a. They each have something sealed inside their eye, much like me when I have some sort of bloodborne illness in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Melina, we'll call her just for pronounce it and make it sound different. She has a vision of fire, and what that means is one of her eyes is just flame, much like me. And
Like
Mesmer,
like that Roman king.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
You know who I'm talking about.
The Christian one?
No.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up while you keep talking.
And so Mesmer has a evil snake god sealed in his eye.
As you do.
And it said they are both born Empyreans, born of one god. We'll get to that later.
The one in their
we'll
eye?
explain it. No, we'll get it. We'll get it later.
Okay.
Born of we'll get to it.
Okay.
But they are born. They're born some point here. The timeline is very loose. Some events can be told in different order. But this is what I'm doing for clarity.
Yeah.
They might have been born after an event I'm about to describe, but we're just putting them on the board here.
Okay.
I was going to do a family tree, but it was too much work and it was too convoluted.
Fair enough.
But they are born, and he has a snake god sealed inside him, and they're both born as Empyreans, meaning there are people who could. America herself is an Empyrean, so all of them have potential that they could one day inherit and become a god.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mesmer, all Empyreans are typically, they're not, aside from America, we don't know, but they're typically born with a curse.
Oh,
Okay.
to like balance it out.
Yes, and so snake in his eye, fire in her eye. And it
Those
might
aren't
be,
like powers that they can do stuff with?
yes,
Okay.
but it's also, in some ways, it's bad for them.
I see.
Melina's fire, there's always a chance it could burn her up if she doesn't regulate it properly. Evil snack in your eye, kind of self-explanatory. And so the Elden Beast, at some point, chooses America as its representative. This is probably a good PR move, as a giant plesiosaur is not as much of like a go-getter you can go put on a poster.
It's not a great emissary.
Yeah, and so how did she become an Empyrean? It said it has to be born of one god. We don't know. However, we'll see something later, which is called the Rune of the Unborn, which is a piece of the Elden Ring, because you could break pieces off, and that's when you manipulate the causality of the world. Anyone whose mother has the Rune of the Unborn with them, when they're born, becomes an Empyrean to circumvent the born of one god thing.
Okay.
America's race, specifically, like not her like people, but her race, is a group subsect of being called the Newman, who are very mysterious.
Okay.
And so
The
it's
Newman?
Newman from Seinfeld.
What?
Yeah. It's spelled
Newman.
different. N-U-M-E-N.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Like new metal.
New human.
And so it's possible that maybe the Newman, because they're shifty, and we'll get into what they get up to later.
It's a piece of this trinket.
It's possible that they broke off part of the ring very early on.
Okay.
And
Wow.
so they're from beyond the lands between, the Newman.
Okay.
So she ascends, she becomes a vessel of the Elden Ring and ascends. And she meets a guy named Godfrey. At the time he's known as Horalu. Godfrey is his slave name. Horalu is a badass warrior from the Badlands. He's a Viking.
He's her consort or whatever?
He becomes her consort, but he's really powerful, great husband material. However, he's too wild. He's got too much of bloodlust. He loves killing.
Big Viking man.
Yeah, and so he literally wrestles bears in his free time.
That's sick. That's very Viking of him.
Yeah,
And,
it is.
She needs some way that he won't just always be killing all the time. And so she binds a beast to him. Where she binds a great lion named Sirash. And the way you see it is it basically looks like he has like like the top half of a lion perched on his shoulder, like a parrot.
This is the Godfrey from the game, right?
Yes. He takes the name Godfrey when he becomes more civilized.
Got it. Okay.
Think about it. She attaches a lion because the lion has less bloodlust than Godfrey does, which is an interesting implication.
Is he okay with that?
Yeah, he's cool with it.
He's like, I love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's hot.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Things you gotta do, right?
Mother.
We've done a lot of bad things. I'm sure all of us have done irresponsible things for women. So, or at least unhealthy things, such as grafting a lion to your soul.
Right.
And also, there are spirit summons in the game where you can use ashes to summon like spirits to help you. This is sort of the diegetic game reason, where Sirash is probably the soul of a previous lion that she basically grafted onto his.
Okay.
It's also said that Empyreans all have wolves in their shadow.
Why?
And what that means is each Empyrean has sort of a shadow-bound wolf-like beast. They kind of look like werewolves,
Yeah.
Oh,
but
that's
they're
cool.
like more metaphysically powerful. America's his name is Malekith, and he's a werewolf-type dude.
Okay.
And
So they have
she-
like a physical person.
yeah, who's their
werewolf in the
shadow. Yeah.
Okay.
Werewolf-type
I can
beast.
get behind that.
It's
Yeah.
like sentient?
Yes. And so various wars of conquest are waged across the lands between. It's a never-ending crusade. Always the aggressors is the Golden Order based out of the center. They subjugate the giants. They fight with Raya Lucaria. They don't control all the territory always,
Yeah.
but they get a lot of it. And so Mesmer, the reason that there isn't a landmass here where she's from is she actually seals away once she gets the Elden Ring. She seals it to like Control C, Control V, this piece of the continent away and puts it on another plane of existence.
Hang on, point to it again.
Okay.
Hang on.
She Control C, Control V is a whole part of the continent.
Okay.
Takes it away because we'll get into it later. But the keys for her ascending to godhood were in that realm of shadow where she's from.
Okay.
And so she wanted to take the keys away from people so that they could never usurp her. So she hides it. And so it becomes the lands of shadow. And the only way you can get to it after is if you're already there or you die.
Oh.
Okay, so this is Oblivion.
Yes.
Got it.
So she puts it on another plane so that no one can do what she did.
That's
Okay.
cheating.
Okay.
Which is like when Gwyn linked the flame.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. That sort of folly here. And so Mesmer is left there in the lands of shadow.
Oh no!
And this is right on Vietnam, where because the horn scent fucked with her,
Yeah.
he's left on a never-ending crusade where he's literally using flamethrowers, like burning
Oh
burning the
no!
horn scent over and over again. And he is a soldier left behind.
Okay.
And it's very sad because he has real mommy issues. And you can see that various statues of America in the Shadowlands, and he's beheaded every single one. He's got his mommy issues,
Oh.
except for one that depicts America holding him as a baby in his castle.
So real
Yeah,
mommy
that
issues,
seems
Jesus.
deep-seated.
Continuing this, the mommy issues. Rilana is a member of the Carrion royalty, the Moon Stars people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She is infatuated with him. She's an older woman, and she's a simp, and she decides to swear herself to his service.
Okay.
So he's got an older
He's a
woman who
cougar
wants to
with
fuck him.
Okay.
And he's got mommy
Is
issues.
she also in the shadow?
Yeah,
Plan?
she chose to
So
go
she
with him.
banished like an entire continent to the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the creatures called the Misbegotten are enslaved by humans of the Golden Order. Misbegotten are real fucked up looking sort of troll-like things. It's hard to describe. Sort of goblin-like. But they are remnants
many-
of the Crucible.
How many fingers?
I think 5.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're sentient, but they're Crucible-like. Cause,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horns
Yeah,
and
yeah.
thorns and
Mhm.
teeth and blades.
So yeah, we got here, and so Godfrey defeats the giants and confines them just to the mountaintop and kills all of them but one.
Okay. That
And-
being Mr. Fire Giant?
Yes, the fire giant in the game. However, if they were to kill the race of the fire giants, it would unleash that god of fire upon the world. And so she actually puts the flame god in the one last giant and traps it in him. And so if you were to kill him, it would release the flame.
Ah,
Oh.
okay, cool. That makes the game
So it's a
more
great
interesting.
idea to fight him.
So why?
Um,
but why did they get rid of all the giants? They were just.
Manifest destiny, bitch.
Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes
They
that
have to
makes so
own
much
everything.
sense.
Around this time, Radagon, a crimson-haired warrior twice as big as much people appears.
Ganondorf.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, Ganondorf.
Red hair is something only seen amongst the giants. However, he gets cursed while fighting the giants to have the red hair.
Got it.
Uh-oh.
As like a fuck you by the giants. It's like
Yeah.
if you're gonna kill a bunch of us, then you're gonna look like this, and all of his descendants will have red hair.
Mhm.
Mesmer and Melina have red hair, so he is probably the baby daddy of America's first litter of kids.
Got it. Okay.
We'll get more into them later. Yeah, we'll talk about this. So that's once again where they're born of one god.
Okay.
Meaning Marika and Radagon, there might be something going on with Marika and Radagon in terms of, are they one being?
Ooh,
Ah.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Self-sex? That's one step further
Yeah.
than incest.
We'll expand upon
Man.
that later, but we're raising the question here.
Okay.
So America and Godfrey have their first child together, with her current husband, and is named Godwin. And these are, all these children were called demigods.
Okay.
Godwin the Golden.
Okay.
Ooh.
If you know Norse mythology, he's Balder. So things are going to go well in life for him.
Yes.
He's the best. Everyone loves him. Later, he has like a son and grandson named Godric the Grafted, who we'll get to
Yeah,
later.
I've heard of that one.
He's one of the first bosses.
The
you get to.
grafted?
Yes.
Yeah. Later, they have twin demigods, Morgoth and Moog.
Oh,
They're
I
known
was
as
more.
omens,
Ooh.
which mean they are crucible aspected creatures.
Cool.
Yeah, that
Which
is
they have
cool.
horns and all fucked up.
That's kind of badass.
And they are powerful yet despised beings because they have symbols of the crucible.
Yeah.
Right.
Normally, if an omen is born, they just kill it as soon as it's born.
Okay.
However, she just chains them up and locks them in the sewers because she can't bring
Oh.
herself to do that.
Yeah, because that always goes well in all
Yeah.
mythologies.
Omens might be related to horn scent, which those guys, but
Yeah.
in some way it's the crucible fighting back against its subjugation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's subjugation by the tree.
What time are we at, by the way?
We're on like another new one. It's
Okay.
at 7:45.
Just let me know when it stops.
I'm gonna tell you when it stops doing the red flashing
Okay,
dot and
cool.
thing. The number stops going up.
Yeah, because remember, the crucible's still in there somewhere.
Yeah.
The thorns are there.
You're right.
Because
It's
yeah.
rebelling against the subjugation.
It's really the
Okay, okay,
crucible versus the
Tree.
big spirit and the tree and whatever versus the stars and whatever.
And so Morgoth, like his brother Godwin, even though he's been mistreated in a very sad turn of events, he stays loyal to the Golden Order and the Greater Will. And he
Yeah.
basically is like a black conservative, I'll say, where he's simping for his oppressors.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wants to basically, he thinks that if he's good enough, they won't resent him for being a omen.
Okay.
And it's very sad because they never will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moog instead says, "Fuck that shit. I'm into the blood god.
Okay.
Blood god. Moog.
Moog.
Yeah.
Blood for the blood god.
Blood for the blood god.
And so at one point the dragons try to re-invade, and there's the biggest dragons involved named Grand Sax, and he breaches the walls of Landel.
Yeah.
However, he is killed, but in his body when he dies turns fully to stone. And so
Okay.
when you go into the city, there's just a giant dragon there, and you actually have to
That's
parkour up it at one
That's-
point.
that's
Yeah,
That is
because
sick.
there's a lot of vertical progression in these games.
Okay, I have one more question. You said the dragons were immortal. That means infinite lifespan?
Infinite lifespan.
Not invulnerable. As
No,
they
I said that
cannot
earlier,
die.
yeah.
What about the drakes? Are they still just going around?
They're like perpetually hunted because, like I said, they're invasive.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
They're
But
kept in
there's
little
still just like a
pockets.
ton of them.
Yeah, mostly
Okay.
they're in Caleb, that region I said earlier, where the Scarlet Rock God was buried.
They're like coyotes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so also he fights a minor dragon called Fortisax, still an immortal dragon, but lesser one, and they actually Godwin we can find the right god. Sorry, Godwin fights him, the
Okay.
Golden Boy.
Yeah.
He fights Fortisax, but he and Fortisax are just like they're fighting for a while, and
Mhm.
there's like, you're a bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So they
that's
respect
offensive.
each other as warriors.
Yeah. They
Aw,
respect other
cute.
warriors. And so the Golden Order next rages war against the Carians of Liurnia, the Moon people.
Okay.
However, on the battlefield, Radagon, that Marika might be her other half, in
Yeah.
various ways,
Sure.
falls in love with Renala, the Queen of the Full Moon, the head of the Karen Dynasty. Shot through the heart, and so they fall in love.
Yeah.
And
Enemies to lovers style.
yeah. Fall in love on a battlefield.
That's
Metal Gear,
cute.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Garmadon from Lego Ninjago movie.
Yes. And so the war is called off.
Oh.
Woo!
Yeah.
And
Hooray.
they basically
Wait, the Dragon War is called off?
no. The war that's one because they
Oh,
killed
right.
them.
Okay.
So giants wiped out, dragons wiped out, peace accord signed.
Okay.
And so the houses of the moon and the houses of the Golden Order sort merge in some way with
Even
his
though they
marriage.
have like completely conflicting views.
Yeah, well, because it's better than fighting all the time.
I guess that's
even
true.
though the Lernians are a minority, they're so powerful with their potent magic, and they're really hard to keep down. So making peace with them is better than this existential conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Landell is right here, and Lernia is right there.
So they're just gonna like coexist and be friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that is that. Radagon and Rinola have 3 children. It's not sure in what order, but there is Radon, who later becomes the General Radon.
Okay.
He learns gravity magic, actually.
Oh, okay.
Studies it illegally.
Uh-oh.
And he and this is where he's a Golden Order simp. And he sort of betrays his
Yeah,
mom's
that
family.
seems completely
Because
against
he studies
that.
the gravity magic to fix the stars in their place. Literally.
Interesting.
The stars no longer move while Radon lives.
That's really cool, actually.
And if you
That
think
is
about it,
interesting.
if the stars are tied to human fate,
Oh.
then he has
Yes.
frozen the progression of humanity, much like Gwyn when he linked the human souls to the bonfire.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
So
Okay.
maybe in order for humanity to progress, we need to.
Yeah, it's like an actual cardinal sin.
Oh, we've had several of those.
Well, yeah, I know, but that one's like
Yeah,
a
the first one was
huge turning
self-sex.
point.
Mm-hmm. And so, Radon is a base dude, though. He's just not, I think he's just kind of dumb. But,
Okay.
like, he's like a meathead, himbo type guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He just loves fighting and loves. He literally learns gravity magic initially, partially because he has a horse, which is just like a regular sized horse, and
Oh.
he's like a.
He's a big dude.
What?
Is he a big guy?
He's like a
Where are
12
you going
for
with this?
you.
What?
But he's about a 12-foot tall guy, and he sadly
Yeah,
can't
that's a
ride his
big
horse
dude.
anymore.
Yeah.
So he uses gravity magic to make himself lighter, so he
Wait,
can
wait,
still
you
ride
had to add a
the horse.
qualifier to a 12-foot guy. He's
Yeah.
not really a big guy.
Yeah.
No, for a dude, he's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a demigod.
Well, yeah, he's too big to ride a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's sweet.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he idolizes Godfrey, and he idolizes Mesmer.
Okay.
I
Rykard
like Mesmer.
is the second, or it could be any order of son. He
Mhm.
becomes a praetor, like in Rome. He becomes
Yeah,
a
right.
bureaucrat. He becomes a bureaucrat.
Okay.
That's lame.
Yeah, it is lame. And so Ronnie is the 3rd child, and while she is pregnant with her, it's unclear whether he was authorized to do this or not. Radagon gives Rinola the Rune of the Unborn.
Ah.
So Ronnie
What?
is born. Also, this is a matrilineal
As
society. So she would inherit as the daughter.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, I knew that one.
yeah. So she becomes an embryo, meaning
Mhm.
one day.
Yep.
Ronnie and she's loyal to her mom with the stars. One day, Ronnie could become the god.
Yeah.
God
And
of the world.
she's on the Team Star.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also a Empryon who challenges her at some point, named the Glowmide Queen.
Oh, shit.
Sure, she had something going wrong.
Yeah,
with her.
probably.
We're not sure exactly which god she served, but it's called the
Zeus.
god of black flame of the Godskin. The Godskin are these disgusting skin monsters who are her servants. Not
Okay.
cool.
Yucky.
And yeah, she gets fucked up. The Glowmite Queen loses to Malekith, the being of America's Shadow.
Not the orc god from Elder Scrolls.
No. And then Marika turns off the concept of death in the lands between.
Cool.
At least in
I
the
love
traditional
being able
way.
to do that.
That's why you keep respawning.
Yeah.
I explained
She
earlier.
activates the command block.
Yeah, I explained earlier how it
And
works
why?
by the game.
Why?
Because the Golden Order is about stasis and not progressing. Much like the
Okay.
dragon. That's why I think the dragons might have
They
worshipped
just
it.
want to keep their perfect thing going.
They
Yeah.
want to maintain their power.
Right,
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
That's why she sealed away the lands of shadow.
That makes sense.
And she gives the Rune of Death, because think about it. This is think about a physical, for those who watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, think of Rohan Kishibe's stand, why am I forgetting his name? Anyways, his stand where he has an ability where he can write in you like a book and change aspects of your personality.
What, like Death
Um,
Note?
Okay.
Sort of, but if you could draw on a person, if I could take a Sharpie on this guy's head and be no longer ginger.
No, I'm not even hat.
And so,
can't tell.
she, the Elden RIng being this physical thing, the part where it says how delightful death's worth, snaps it off. and then gives it to Malekith, her dog. And he puts it into his blade, his sword, and she's like, so my dog has
Head sword.
has literally the how death works. So we're good.
Yeah.
And as with here, I would like to stop and take a quick break. All right, class, we're resuming here. We just discussed the Glow-Mind Queen and Ronnie. Ronnie later becomes under the tutelage of a Snow Witch. I have no idea. So that's her mentor. So at some point, Marika researches more about the Greater Will and the Golden Order. We don't know exactly what she was aware of when she made the deal with the god, but it appears she looks more into this, and she's like, maybe this blind faith in this force isn't great. And so she creates she says basically, I'm going to go look more into Greater Will lore. And
We need some greater
Yeah,
will
we do need
lore.
some greater will lore.
yeah. And so basically she is trying to, because she is the center of the religion, but also it's seen as heretical to counter any of it. So she has to kind of secretly on the download, start researching. And so she makes she comes to despise the greater will. It's probably because, honestly, it might involve her past with the Newman and the shamans, or just the fact that this ultimate stasis maybe isn't what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
But she wants it for herself and for her children.
She
To
wants
keep
to
living
make
forever.
something better and new.
Yeah, but she might, I think, whatever the terms of the deal were for the greater will, she's not entirely down to pay that price. Only she knows. So she hatches a plan. Godfrey gets bored and sad because he doesn't have anyone to fight. So Marika divorces him and sends him away to go beyond the fog, back to the Badlands.
Okay.
Wow.
Back
However,
to Viking
before
land.
she goes, she says, there's going to be a time in which I need you to return. So take your warriors. His warriors are henceforth known as the Tarnished.
Ah, okay.
Because they're tarnished by this exile. And she goes, there will be a time in which you need to return. And you'll know when.
Why would they return if they're getting kicked out?
Well, they're getting kicked out is the pretense, is that, we don't need you guys anymore. But only he knows that there is a plan in place.
Oh, it's like
Okay.
a secret plan.
Yes,
So is this prophesized or just planning?
plan it.
It's a plan to
And
overthrow the greater will?
Yes.
Okay.
And she says, have the warriors fight and die, not permanently, but and to become stronger, absorb runes, out of the sight of the greater will. And one day they'll come back. And so they go on adventures, they get strong, and he becomes Horalu again for this time. And the quote is, then after my, Godfrey kind of has like a pirate / sort of accent, and he's like, then after my death, I will give back what I once claimed, return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden Ring. I'm saying this because when he says the Elden Lord, he's like, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's how he talks.
That's cool.
And so, the Greater Will probably didn't authorize that whole thing. And so they're mad, and they say, you have to take another consort to become Elden Lord.
Yeah.
And that's when she marries Radagon.
Mm.
Only problem, Radagon is married to
The lunar god.
Renala. He has to forcibly divorce her.
What?
This basically breaks her. And Renala secludes herself within the Academy of Lucaria, and is just kind of shattered by this sudden divorce. And she secludes herself with only her daughter Ronnie. And the whole thing becomes on lockdown and becomes kind of cultish.
Okay.
Radagon and Marika then get together, and this is where we go into the identity of the two. So, with the kids of Radagon and Marika all being Empyreans, the two we talked about and the ones later, that means they had to be born of one god.
Yeah.
Meaning they would have to be, Marika's a god, and Radagon would have to be the same god.
Because there can't be two gods?
Yeah. And so, later we see a statue that is Radagon's secret. And it's because the statue on the front half is Radagon, and the back half is Marika.
What?
And so I don't think they were originally one being.
Okay.
However, I think
They became
this is
one?
headcanon. Yeah, I think they were only fused together sometimes, I think their union was inconsistent, considering that they seem to have. I'm gonna. There's a guy on Reddit who came up with this here. U/Aurelius_Red. Shout out that guy. Which is where I found this theory.
I'd give them an upvote.
Yeah, I thought it was on
And
Reddit.
Repost.
So they had to be separate to make children. I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Nope, it's all asexual here.
When she first pops up, she doesn't have Radagon with her, but she has those 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he goes and does his own thing and come back. So I think some point in ascending to godhood, they became fused to some extent. I think that's what happened.
Well, plus
And it
they
seems
had,
like they get unfused at times.
they had like different motives and like spouses and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So it seems like they'd be different at some point,
Yeah.
right?
2
Mhm.
parts of the same whole.
Yeah. And we'll get more into where they have opposing motivations later. But yeah, so it seems like I think they were somehow, and we'll get more into the process when we get to the DLC of becoming a god. I think somewhere in there they got fused.
Okay.
That's my assertion.
That's
we don't
cool.
know. We know they're one being somehow, but we don't get it. However, she gets that. Renala is secluded in her study. Like I said, she has an amber egg that contains the rune of the unborn. How Ronnie was born.
Okay, right.
There's that. And Ronnie, she basically just Renala goes crazy and just starts doing weird magic shit. And Ronnie puts a spell on her that's like a self-defense thing. The Protector Mom basically puts her in a nursing home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the rune of the unborn is part of the Elden thing,
that's been broken off, assumably.
and what would can you ever like put it back on to the thing?
Yes, theoretically you could.
What would that do?
It would
Blue.
mend the ring, which
Okay.
would add that
Change
raw
physics or
Yes.
whatever? Okay, that's
If you
cool.
were to mend it with the Rune of Death, which you can in one of the endings, you would bring back death.
Okay, that's
You
kind of
can
cool.
mend it with other stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you mend it with like parts that aren't on the main one, and they still work, just like in their fragmented form? Yeah, that's sick.
yeah, it's
That's so
really
cool.
really cool.
That's a cool system.
And so Ronnie is for Radagon's children through Renala. Now that Renala is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, are
Mhm.
formally adopted as demigods. Now that
Okay.
Radagon is the consort. I mean, they were very powerful, but they're considered thus. And Ronnie is an Empryan, and she has it's a Celtic name, so it's hard to pronounce. It's Blaid, Blade,
Blade.
Okay, yeah.
somewhere in there.
Bloody.
He is the wolf in her shadow. He's a wolf man, about 7 feet tall. He's got a big ass gut sword from Berserk. Cool guy.
Hell yeah.
And so next, and it seems like Ronnie might be the insurance policy against America. Because she was born via the Rune of Unborn, she is an Empryan but not cursed, which is why I think that might be how America was born. Because she
Okay.
doesn't seem to have any obvious curse drawbacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless the Radagon thing is her curse.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought all the Imperials had curses.
What?
I thought they all had
They
curses.
do, except for Ronnie, because she's sort of an artificial, she's a test tube baby Empyrean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she was made with the
Rune of the
rune?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And
Piece
so
of the-
Radagon and America have four,
Trinket.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, it was, yeah.
Have 4 sets of children. And at least 2 of them are Empyreans, and they're born in cursed sets of twins.
Okay.
Oh wait, sorry, the 2 are the old ones I already mentioned, Mesmer and
Yeah.
Millennia. But there is Millennia, who is born afflicted with the rot inside her.
Got it.
And so she has potential. If she were to ascend to godhood, she would bring an age of rot into the world. And she's not
Specifically
the
the Scarlet Rot.
the scarlet rot, and she does not want that to happen.
Okay.
So she's
Oh,
constantly
that's
trying to
good.
contain her rot. And there's a warrior from Fantasy Japan
Mm-hmm.
who helped defeat the scarlet rot and seal it underneath the ground in Kaled. And he teaches her how to defeat the rot within herself.
Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
And so she actually, at some point, she loses an arm because it's rotting off, and she gets a prosthetic arm. And I think the idea is that it is a losing battle existentially. Against Scarlet Rot, she would have to kill herself at some point to
Fully destroy it or whatever.
Mhm.
Okay.
or at least maybe go to a place where it wouldn't harm anyone and then unleash it.
Okay.
Considering it can be defeated, it's not the full apocalypse. And the other one is Mikella. Mikela's curse is one that's he's not hosting a god. He is born to always be a child. So this is where we get into anime logic, where is it legal to have sex with him? Because he looks like a 12-year-old.
I'm 140.
He's a 12-year-old, and he's sort of androgynous, where you can't really tell whether he's a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a boy though, and yeah, so that's a question for the philosophers amongst us.
Does
It's a question
does
I
he
will not
age
be back on.
mentally?
Yeah,
Does
mentally very smart, very
Okay,
wise.
like old
Yeah,
still? Okay, just his body?
Yeah, and so Mikela gets along. Yes, just his body.
That doesn't seem
But it
that
also-
bad.
so-
Is
so-
it really bad?
There is an issue of maturation within what do you call it?
Like
with
puberty?
with his powers is what I'm saying is it's possible that his ultimate power or his ability to ascend to godhood, because he is an Empyrean, might be soft locked behind the fact that
Oh,
he's
because
a
he's
child.
a kid?
Okay.
Yeah.
Darn.
So it's possible that there's a metaphysical aspect to his eternal childhood.
Okay, so where your body kind of has to be strong enough to withstand the ascension?
Possible.
Okay.
Possibly.
That's a good theory.
Mm-hmm. And so he gets along with his dad for a while, Radagon. However, he, on his own, grows the Halleck tree. The Halleck tree is a sapling he took from the Erd tree, and he
Okay.
watered it with his own blood. And he grows it, and eventually becomes a haven for the wayward and like the lost. So Hornsent lived there. Some pilgrims lived there.
Yeah.
And Mikela becomes known as Mikela the Kind.
Aw.
Okay.
Did he just know how to do that? Just
The
one day
hunter,
he
yeah.
woke up, he was like, I'm going to take this sapling and water it with my blood and then, make
Mhm.
the haven.
Yeah, so that happens with Mikela, and he basically has an idea with he develops his own plan, and we'll get into it later. But he wants to bring about something called the Age of Compassion,
Oh, that's good. That's
and
lovely.
he is besties with his sister Millennia,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically
Again,
divests him.
not the one from the game, or yes, the one from the game?
She's the swordswoman with the rock gods.
Oh,
There's
okay,
also-
okay.
that's why I said Millennia and Melina is the other.
Yes, that's-
why I'm calling them different things.
Okay.
That's a good job doing that.
Those are very similar names.
Yes. So he divests himself of his physical form.
Mhm.
What that means is he basically kills his body, and the body enters a cocoon,
Okay.
and his soul goes elsewhere. We'll get to that later, where that goes. And he tells Millennia, her title is Blade of Mikela, or Mikela, some of them pronounce, but I like Mikela better. Mikela Obama. And
Soda!
he basically says, guard me, I'm going to peace out.
Okay.
While I go on the astral plane or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Radon rises to the ranks, becomes that general. He defends the town of Celia and Kaled, which is a place where the rot's trapped under,
Yeah.
against dragons.
Do
Got
you
all
want
that.
to unleash the rot?
Yeah, why
No.
do the dragons want to unleash the rot?
They don't.
And they just
were
want to conquer the
randomly
town?
attacking the
There's
town.
there's attacking the town because that's just where they live. The
They-
mother
Okay.
of dragons lives there.
Okay.
Oh.
And so Moog escapes Landel after allying himself with the Blood God, so he's MIA. And then Moog, the Lord of Blood, kidnaps his brother's cocoon, Mikela.
Okay.
And his goal, it's going to get heavy, his goal is to become the consort of Mikela.
Okay.
His half-brother who's eternally a child.
Yeah.
And so that he can become Elden Lord. And
Doesn't
so
feel
his
very good.
outer god will be the Formless Mother, the god will be Mikela, and he will
Be the.
consort of his child brother.
Okay.
And this is where he gets the fan
If
name
he's the
of...
consort, then wouldn't the brother ascend?
Yeah.
Yes. But then
And
he
he's
gets
just
all the mortal
assuming-
powers.
He's just assuming
Okay.
somehow he would go with it. And so this is where he gets the fan name of the Moog Lester.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's very, very fucked.
Yeah.
That's
So
terrible.
cool guy. And Marika also, she entrusts a misbegotten who are one of those fucked up crucible people.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
she asks him, she makes a task. She says, build a god-slaying weapon.
Oh.
Even no matter how long it takes. Do that in
Mhm.
secret.
Mhm.
And also, Mo claims that he takes Miquella to his underground lair.
Mhm.
He's doing whatever.
Uh,
And he says he wants to found a dynasty with Miquella.
what?
I don't know if he understands how reproduction works. Now,
Greg.
Miquella, we'll get into later, seems to have, might have a female form. Maybe like his mom, who's a male and female
Because
form.
of the cocoon?
Yeah, so maybe that's possible. However,
Okay.
we're just going to do...
Still very, very weird.
We'll just go, yuck on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yuck!
Yuck.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, glad we got that out of the way. So, however, we're going to get the Knight of Black Knives. Knives, presumably, of the long-ass variety.
Yeah.
And Ronnie has a plan. She is mad about what happened to her mom, and also she's a loyalist to the stars.
Okay.
Because she
good.
thinks that people should be unfixed from the greater will.
Mm.
And so she hires some assassins who are the Newmen, the same race as, assumably male men.
Yeah.
The same race as America, yeah.
Is the formless mother or whatever, is she on the team of
Mo.
the... no, I know, but are they on the team of the greater will?
No.
They're their own thing.
Yeah, the
They're like
Formless Mother is a
blended.
different outer god.
Okay, I
Yeah.
see.
So, she somehow...
Stars are against all the outer
She
gods.
attacks Malekith and gets the Rune of Death, Ronnie.
Okay.
Okay.
So now she has it. Well, she hires people to attack Malekith and get the Rune of Death. And so there's a little piece of it left. She breaks off, because remember, it's a physical thing. She breaks off and takes most of the Rune of Death, and there's a little bit left of it. And Malekith plunges it inside of him to try to make sure no one can use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck this.
If you insist.
Um,
Just kidding.
So Ronnie has the Black Knives enlist in a dark ritual. While there's a gathering, much like in Nordic mythology, when there's a gathering and Balder is slain, amidst the pretense of like a feast, she's hanging out with Godwin the Golden, and they're all having a good time, doing the
Yeah.
And she has the Black Knives assassins storm in, and they kill her, and then also kill Godwin.
Ooh.
Okay.
And so what happens, in a way, for whatever reason you have to do this, but all girl assassins, by the way, girl power.
Yay.
And they carve half of a death mark, which a death mark would be like if you, when you do a pressing of something, like a pressing, you put paper on something.
Oh, yeah,
keeps
yeah,
the
like a-
imprint.
Oh, like
Yeah.
with the leaves
Yeah.
in the book.
The death mark is a pressing of the Rune of Death.
Okay.
And
I
these
see.
assassins carve half of it on Godwin's body and half of it on Ronnie's body.
Okay.
And what that
Press
does is
together.
it kills Godwin's soul and kills Ronnie's physical body, allowing her soul to escape and become a ghost that can inhabit things. So she
Okay.
can go carry out her plan. It's unclear why this was necessary to fuck up Godwin too, but it appears to be some sort of balance thing.
Yeah.
Because think about it this way: if she carved it onto herself, the whole thing,
Then
that would
would've
kill her
killed
soul
completely.
and her body.
Yeah.
How
So
come it didn't vice versa and kill?
They got lucky. They won the coin toss.
Yeah.
That,
is
or
like a
it could be what
50-50?
part of it they carved onto her.
Mm,
Left half or right
okay.
half, whatever. And so distraught over the death of her firstborn child, America gets a hammer and smashes the Elden Ring.
Oh,
The whole thing?
Yeah.
all of the physics.
And so things start becoming askew. She hasn't taken
Yeah.
Say.
She hasn't taken away the pieces completely, but that means that the laws of physics and causality,
Fucking
They're not
wonky.
like
Yeah.
connected.
and it makes it so there's a layer of fog all around the lands between.
Okay.
And so it seems like it's hard. It isn't quite put it on its own plane of existence or oblivion or whatever.
Yet.
But it makes it harder to travel between the lands between and the lands beyond, because it's the epicenter, Of the,
Yeah.
Of the
All of those.
causality.
Mhm.
Of
Yeah.
the fucking laws of physics.
Yeah. So things might be slightly bad for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is known as the Shattering, which I have right here as R.I.P. Elden Ring.
Oh, we are all the way up there.
There's
Yeah.
a second
You're
board.
fast.
What?
Oh.
There's a second board, right?
Yeah, it's not that long ago.
Okay.
And so that does happen. And however, for her sin, Marika and Radagon are imprisoned inside the Erd Tree.
By who?
Okay.
A bunch of
The
thorns
Elden-
appear and crucify them
Oh.
and pull them inside.
Well,
the
the Crucible
center.
does its namesake, I guess. It crucifies.
Well, it is the
That's
Greater
good.
Will.
Okay.
Oh, the Greater Will did that?
Yeah, because
Okay.
they're pissed because this is a rebel god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
They like order, and she just fucked it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She just broke physics.
all
And
Like,
so
physically
she, for
broke
all
physics.
time, there are a bunch of statues made of her, but she is crucified on it. Or actually, sorry, isn't thorns. She's just like floating.
Okay.
I think might be some thorns on it.
and
but
people
it's not
can
like
die
prominent.
now
Yeah.
for real because she
No.
smashed the thing.
Because the
No.
rune of death is hidden within
The dog
the
sword.
dog.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
Yeah. So people don't die. Everything's weird. We got floating islands. We got, like just platforms that don't
wonky.
make sense.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is fucked.
Time is convoluted, especially within. It seems like if you go outside, time goes normally. But
Okay.
inside, like there's the whole time loop thing. But time seems to be working wonky. Causality is weird. Some characters seem to have backstories that don't make any sense. That's probably due to what the hell she did.
Yeah. Physics is broken.
Yeah,
That's
not completely fucked since it's the Elden Ring still exists. She didn't hide it anywhere.
okay.
I think it's all laying around, sort of close to each other.
What
Got
do you mean
it.
by like they have backstories? Like just people in
So it
game?
isn't completely
Yeah.
gone. It's just
Yeah.
in pieces
Yeah,
close
yeah.
to each
Imagine
other.
if you pulled something out of an outlet, like most of the way, the plug's still slightly in there.
Okay.
Or like they're all close.
But it's
enough
hanging
together, they
on
can
to like a
still-
lifeline.
Yeah, they're all close enough together. It can still like if let's say you had a bunch of piece of metal conducting.
Yeah,
electric
yeah.
current.
Your electricity
Still-
things work.
They're
Could
still close
someone-
enough together. They can
But
still.
there's gonna be
conduct it.
arcs between them.
Could
Yeah,
someone-
exactly. Yeah, and that's when you see the game. The load screen of the game is the
Circle.
the shape of the Elden Ring. And if you just assume what that is, but broke it up a little bit, it's probably what's going on now.
Could someone
Okay.
just go in and like put all the pieces back together and
We'll
it
get
would,
that
like,
later.
magically fuse?
We'll get that later. And so the two fingers decide to carry on with the Greater Will's mission because they get their orders from Meter, and she gets her orders from them directly.
Yeah.
And so they try to restore order, so they try to control different demigods, basically. And so we get to the Shattering Wars, because different great runes
Yeah.
fall into the possession of each demigod.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And not all of
Different
them...
parts of the thing.
Yeah, and not all of them are Empyreans. But theoretically, like, the Empyreans in play, Ronnie's MIA, the Empyreans in play would be Melina and Michaela, potentially, Millennia.
Yeah.
Melina, there is the Vision of Fire, but she's also in hiding.
What about
Um,
Mesmer? Or whatever?
Mesmer is trapped in his own pocket dimension, basically.
Oh.
So it's limited, but they're trying to get one of the demigods at least to become like controller of the lands.
Yeah.
Morgoth actually gets freed from the sewers, and
Oh, no.
in
Did
his
not
dad
see
and
that
mom's
coming.
stead, he actually rules what's left of the Golden Order.
Oh,
so he
sick.
gets his time to shine.
Even-
Morgoth
he's-
being the one that was trapped in Oblivion.
Morgoth was one of the omens who was trapped in the sewers.
Because
Okay.
he's Crucible.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Crucible aspect.
Okay.
His
yes.
his brother is the Moog Lester.
Got it.
Morgoth is the
Yep.
black conservative.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. He loves police violence.
Oh no.
Jesus.
And so they all get the great runes, and while it powers them up, it also seems it's warping their mind a little bit. Because imagine just holding on to a physics concept.
Yeah.
And walking around
Yeah.
with it. And so
Uh-huh.
in the game, if you get one of those great runes after defeating them, you can use it to power yourself up and give yourself different abilities
That's
Okay.
cool.
while it's
I
activated.
have stolen the law of conservation of energy.
Yeah, that would probably not do good things for you if you
Yeah.
were like, because I imagine it's like being close to like radiation. I assume
yeah.
over time it's not great. And so this is the Fuken Shattering, as I have in my
The
notes.
fucking shattering man.
And Fortisax is very sad
Shotted.
because Fortisax was the guy who befriended Godwin, and so he takes the corpse of Godwin and takes it deep underground, and he's so depressed he becomes an undead dragon.
Okay.
That's cool.
That makes
Academy of
sense.
Raya Lucaria is all boarded up, so that shit's happening.
So Lucario's
I'm
dead.
not sure whether they forgive student debt or not, so it might be hard to make payments to the College of Raya Lucaria. Some point in this, there are these people called the Almanaric people, which are artificial, like, homunculus people. Each successive generation resembles people less and less.
Okay.
Who makes them?
No.
Okay, cool.
And so they have a village because they get persecuted, so they go to hide
Yeah.
there.
So are they just becoming like Ditto?
Yeah,
How many
Okay.
fingers?
either 4 or 5.
Okay.
So yes, the Miguel grows the howling tree. We got there. If you get to the Battle of Aeonia, the first big turn. Aeonia is the spot where the Scarlet Rot is sealed in Caelid. Here. And what happens is Radon is invading, or rather, that is Radon's territory.
Yeah.
Millennia, the swordsman with the rot in there, comes in, and Millennia is starting to lose the battle. And she unleashes the Scarlet Rot and goes to nuke.
Ah.
And so this entire sub-region is
Fine.
rot infested.
The
Like a
crimson
evil
from
crimson.
Terraria.
Yes, literally that.
Okay,
Is
cool.
a crimson rot poison
God.
swamp. Crimson rot poison swamp. Crimson rot poison swamp. Crimson rot poison swamp. Yes.
Yay.
Radon is not killed. She's fucked up, but she's able to retreat back to the Howling Tree.
Okay.
That's where you find her, Howling Tree, and that's where you find her in the game.
Mhm.
She's like half mad by her experiences.
Yeah.
She still wants to protect Michaela, but she doesn't know where he is. So she's kind of
Okay.
in a state of dementia.
Yeah.
But she's at least has a safe place to sort of sleep off that.
Mhm. Is there a way to help her protect the brother, or do you have to kill her in game?
Her brother's gone. He divested his soul from his body.
Yeah, I forgot about
So
that.
killing her in game is sort of putting her out of her misery.
What-
To be
Okay,
completely honest.
fair.
We're talking about the cocoon guy?
Yeah, the Cocoon guy's her brother.
Yes.
And she's the swordswoman.
He's
who-
just in the cocoon though, isn't he?
Was
well,
that
no,
the
his
body that
body
got
is.
sacrificed?
Yeah, but his soul is somewhere on the astral plane.
But isn't
Much
that,
like Ronnie's.
doesn't that other guy have the cocoon? And
Yeah, and he's
that makes it worse.
Yeah.
That makes it so much. He's not even in the cocoon.
well, his body is.
His body
soul
is, his
isn't.
soul isn't.
Oh.
So only the kid part of him is there.
Oh
Yeah.
god, that's like
I'm
the
a kid
worst
now, I'm a
case
squid.
scenario.
Oh
baby.
god, that makes it even
That is
worse.
the worst case scenario, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Radon is driven mad, and he wanders to this little island where he's confined, and he just basically mindless, just killing everything that enters that island. So a guy who's formerly named Jaren the Witch Hunter, he's loyal to the house of Caria, the royals, to Radon's family,
Mhm.
and he starts a festival called the Radon Festival, where every few hundred years they gather together all the greatest warriors, and they all try to kill Radon. Because because Radon being the himbo that he is, he thinks that was what he would have wanted if he went mad.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can't die.
Yeah, because Radon and him made a pact of death, which is that if either of them ever abandoned their duty, that one of them would kill the other. You
Okay.
may remember this from Dark Souls 3 with the characters of Yorm the Giant
Mhm.
and Sigurd the Knight.
I do kind of
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. So Godric the Grafted is the grandson of Godwin, and he sucks. He's a little bitch. They say he
So
really.
he's got like a dragon fist.
We'll get there.
Okay.
They say that he fled the capital on the Night of Long Knives by dressing as a woman.
Oh.
And he's a little bitch, and he's insecure with the fact that he's not Godwin, who's either his dad or grandpa.
Okay.
And he at one point he had previously tried to pick a fight with Millennia,
Mhm.
and it was so pitiful she spared him and told him to go back to his castle.
Oh. Womp womp.
And so he starts grafting shit onto himself, which is he has a dragon's head for an arm. He basically turns himself into like a mecha, where his body in the middle, and then all the weird shit he's grafted onto
How
him.
many genitals?
We don't know.
How does he
Presumably
graft it on?
multiple?
Magic.
He's just magically grafting
Yeah.
that body.
Yeah.
He's like Frankensteining himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
cool.
it's one of the cooler concepts for a boss.
It's
that
really
I've
cool.
seen.
And so also his Stormvale Castle where he lives becomes a twisted menagerie of experiments where things are grafted together. It's disgusting
He's
and
like
horrible.
zombie and terrifying.
Yeah, and he just abducts people from around the area and turns them into
this guy
horrifying
does kind of
experiments.
Yeah.
suck.
He creates Edward Scissorhand birds that have like blades on their feet.
Are these the death
Okay.
birds we were talking
No.
about before? No.
No, the death birds are largely not important.
Okay.
So there's that. Rykard, the Praetor,
The bureaucrat.
he starts getting into snake lore, and he goes to Mount Gelmir on a volcano and meets the god-devouring serpent, which isn't an outer god. Also isn't a god who controls a capture point, but some sort of divine
Some
thing.
like its
apex
own
predator
thing.
that eats
And
gods.
he fuses with it. Yes,
Oh.
it eats gods. And now he is permanently
Gods
a
or outer
giant.
gods?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
He becomes permanently a giant snake with the face of a man.
Okay.
Not a great fate.
That would seem less effective.
And a cult forms around him called Volcano Manor. And their goal is to try to find people to feed to Rykard so he can eat all the gods. Which, once again, you may remember from Aldrich the Devourer in Dark Souls 3.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
We
currently
just hit about
eating-
30 minutes on this.
Okay, good.
It's still going.
Yeah, yeah. it's
Morgat
okay.
tries to invade Mount Gelmir, and so it ends in a stalemate.
Okay.
The forces, he can't go in there. And so Ronnie the Witch awaits in her, she basically inhabits a doll most of the time,
Okay.
which she possesses, which looks like the Snow Witch.
Okay. It's not creepy at all.
No.
Normal behavior.
It's a little normal sized doll.
Okay.
Yeah. And when she's inhabiting it, it makes her look like she's human.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's some of her features look a little off because it's a doll. When
Mhm.
she doesn't inhabit, it's just inanimate.
Ah, yes. So that makes it even worse. She's inhabiting a sex doll.
Yeah, and so she
It's like a human size.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. that's a
And
little odd.
so she inhabits that, and she has a council around her who are hatching a plan.
Okay.
And she wants to begin the Age of the Stars,
Okay.
which, like I said, might be
Right.
the Antichrist. So now we get to the return.
Yay.
Yeah. So
The return.
the
of king.
Tarnished come back from beyond the fog. This is the beginning of the game.
Hell yeah.
Horlu, who is chief of the Badlands, hears the call of long lost grace. I don't know what that is, but that's the signal.
He
Yeah.
heard it.
And he comes back.
And
The
some-
Tarnish arrived at some point. We don't really know what order, but like all the principal characters in the game are Tarnished warriors. That you are one,
Mhm.
and then a bunch of the NPCs you'll meet are them, which
Okay.
means they were just part of the people who were banished.
Got it.
And the goal of all the Tarnished is they're told to do by America, kill enough demigods that you're powerful enough to ascend the throne.
Cool.
And Marika wants you to become her new Elden Lord.
Okay.
Even though, because theoretically, I think the idea is her and her previous Elden Lord, Radagon, were both in prison.
Yes.
If you became Elden Lord, possibly you could free her and then be her new boy toy.
Okay.
She
Or
wants-
girl toy.
Yeah.
She wants you to be the consort.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're not the Empyrean or whatever.
She
She
will
is.
continue to
She
be the
is.
god, and you will get all of the mortal benefits.
And just until she decides to get rid of
And
you.
it's a
Yes.
it's better than like a Dark Souls type situation.
'Cause you
Because
get
you're
to
not
fuck.
like burned. You're not like
Mhm.
on
Because
the
you get
burning
pussy.
thing.
Yeah.
That's why it's better than
You're
Dark
basically
Souls.
just hanging out.
Yeah,
You're in a
sitting on the
committed
throne.
relationship.
Well, until she decides to get rid
Well,
of you.
Right.
sure, but yeah.
For now.
Much like real relationships.
Yeah,
Until
much like
someone
real
decides to leave you.
hierarchies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Morgat takes on a fake identity named Margit,
Okay.
and he presents
Nice.
himself as like a lesser omen, and he's trying to test Tarnished warriors. So he goes
Okay.
around trying to see if they're hot shit. He's one of the first bosses
Yeah.
in his disguise, and he's just trying to see if you're good.
Okay.
So there's that.
Do you get any of his essence when you beat him in his disguise?
You get a little piece of it.
Okay.
And so a large group of Tarnished attempt to take the capital, hashtag January 6th.
No.
And so now there's an ongoing siege of Leyendell, which is
Okay.
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so we don't know exactly where Godfrey is when he's back. And so there's just a few characters that aren't necessarily, there's the Dung Eater, Fia, the Deathbed Companion,
The Dung Eater.
Gold Mask, Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. Gideon
Gideon Off.
Ofnir is like a...
Getting off.
Gideon Ofnir, I think it's...
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Getting Ofnir.
Yeah. You're
He's
what?
sort of an NPC that gives you, like, suggests where you to go next, because he's been tracking the demigods.
Oh.
Okay.
And he's like, so you go here, you fight this person, go here.
Mm.
So that's him. And so you also, the guy who enhances your weapon is Master Hugh, who's the guy who was tasked with creating a god-slaying weapon.
Oh, okay.
Did he do it?
Well, if you beat the game, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, however, so you are just a Tarnished when you start out. You wake up in this little place. Don't know how you got there. Memory wiped, I guess. Well, you get killed in the introduction, and then
Yeah.
you wake up, respawn in a place. When you're there, a mysterious figure appears to you, this maiden, and her name is
Melina.
Melina. There's the vision of fire, much like me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I will play the role of maiden with you, which, you know.
What?
That
Yeah.
means. And basically, she helps you upgrade. She
Yeah,
turns
okay.
your runes into strength. She helps you level up. And she aids you throughout your journey. Whenever you rest and aside to Grace, you can talk to her. And she gives you the focus.
Okay.
You try to become Elden Lord. And so, you can kill all the demigods. We're pretty sure, it's not confirmed that she's America's daughter, but the DLC lore makes it pretty clear that she is. So
Yeah.
there's that. And so
Which would
basically,
make her a demigod as well?
yeah, because she would be an emperor.
You kill her?
No.
Okay.
Good.
So throughout the game, basically, Millennia, you can kill her to put her out of her misery. Radon, you kill him, and then the stars become unfixed.
Yes.
And a huge
That's
meteor
cool.
hits Caelid.
Cool. Okay. Weird nitty gritty question. Does the skybox change after you kill him, or the star? Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Miyazaki spent like 10 years on this.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And that
I saw
opens
that.
up when the meteor blasts open. Remember those underground cities where they have that prophecy
Mhm.
to bring back the night sky?
Ooh.
They expose it.
Okay.
Sick.
And
yeah,
so
that's
that
cool.
means you can go down and get the Finger Slayer blade. Yeah.
Very cool.
I
Very
need to
poetic.
play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanna play
Rykard,
the game.
not really important. He's the snack boy.
Yeah.
You can kill him. Don't step on snack. Yeah, right there.
He doesn't.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem that
is it
powerful.
still-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's all we need. Yeah, he's whatever.
What has he been doing? He's just been waiting for people to feed him
Yeah.
other gods, but
Renala, the Queen of the Full Moon, you can go and fight her, and after you think you've killed her, you just killed the like an apparition of her that Ronnie set as a
Trap or something?
yeah, it just set as like a defense system.
Okay.
Afterwards, you see her in her shattered form. She's clutching the Rune of the Unborn,
Mhm.
and you can use her to respec via the if you decide you didn't like your build in the
Yeah.
game,
Oh,
you can
that's
use her
cool.
to respec. Godric the Grafted is a little bitch, and you can kill him. That's normally the first demigod you kill.
yeah, I do
Uh,
not like him very much.
When you get there,
I don't like his personality. I like the concept for a
He's
boss.
a
Yeah.
cool concept. He's just a freak.
when
Yeah.
you get to Landale the first time, Morgoth is there,
Okay.
and you kill him, and he's very sad because he's like, I failed the greater will. Like,
Yeah.
my dad Godfrey failed him, and you go to be like, I'm gonna go into the Erd tree. Thorns cover it.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only way to do this, get these thorns, is you need to unleash some fire. So you go to the
Ah.
mountaintop of the giants,
Oh,
Yeah.
fire giant.
Yep.
kill the fire giant.
To unleash the
Uh,
fire god.
Melina, or what was it called, Melina?
Yeah.
Your maiden takes the fire within herself because she has that vision of
Mhm.
fire, and she burns the Erd tree.
Very cool.
Okay.
But in so sets it on fire, in so seemingly perishes.
Yes.
And so then you're able to go to Crumbling Pharaoh Missoula. Placidusax is an optional boss. You can fight him if you want. If you want to go beat up an old geriatric dragon, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you get out of it?
Achievement.
Is it as sad to kill him as to kill Parthenax or no?
Much less sad.
Okay.
And then you can fight. You fight fucking what's his face, Malekith,
Okay.
who's got the last bit embedded in himself. You kill him. You get the Rune of Death.
Mm-hmm.
What's left of him. Go back there, and you go back to where you killed Morgoth. And you're rolling up, looking all cool,
Mhm.
wearing a mismatched armor set for
Yeah,
stat
yeah, yeah.
bonuses. So you have like a stripper fishnets. You got a
Mhm.
Viking helm.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an
That's
access.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
looking
yeah,
at.
yeah.
That's me on
Samurai
Monday.
armor.
Yeah.
Show up, you're like, all right, I guess I'm gonna ascend the throne. However, so there's a fog gate, and you go through it, and there's someone patting the corpse of Morgoth, and it's Godfrey, the first Elden Lord,
Ah.
and he says, "It's okay, you killed my son. I get it. However, only one of us can ascend the throne,
Oh,
so we're gonna duke it out." He's
Mm.
importantly, all the demigods talk shit at you when you try to fight them. They're
Yeah.
like, "You lowly tarnished, bereft of grace," is what they always say, something
Yeah.
like that. Godfrey's like, "This isn't personal. I'm also tarnished. I fuck
Mhm.
with you.
But
one of us has to
you.
die.
One of us has to do it, and so
Yeah.
you duel him. However, at half his health bar, he's like, ugh, ugh. He takes the lion on his shoulder, crushes its head.
Oh,
He's like, I'm sorry, and he then throws off his armor, and he becomes no longer Godfrey Elden Lord, but Horalu Warrior.
Ooh.
Okay.
And he throws away his axe and he fights you with his bare hands.
That's
Sick.
And he like
badass.
tries to palm strike you.
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
power bombs you, just pro wrestling shit. He
Mhm.
basically becomes like if you're familiar with the story of Gilgamesh and Enkidu.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
sort of like Enkidu, who was like the wild man,
Yeah.
you know, civilized,
Yeah.
via woman in both stories. And so this is where we get into endings. So if you can side with Ronnie, and you actually get to marry.
Pause here.
Stop.
I mean, it's Gal. Okay.
This is where just let me know when it stops.
Okay.
This is where we get into endings. So you can do the regular ending, and when you get there, you go in there, and who you see is the final boss, none other than Radagon.
Okay.
And whereas America's been crucified, Radagon has been using his hammer to try to mend the Elden Ring.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
fight him, and you kill him, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna be king or something, and then the Elden Beast appears.
What?
And you can kill that, and then you can choose your ending, depending on what side
Wait,
quest you've done.
What was the Elden Beast?
He's a
Elden
big
Beast, the Loch Ness
plesiosaur with a
monster.
sword.
Oh yeah, Loch
Yeah.
Ness. Loch Ness. Okay, right.
That's him. And so depending on what you do, there's the default ending if you haven't done any side quest, where I guess you can simp for America forever and become her consort.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ending where you mend it with the Rune of Death. I'm gonna forget one. There's one called the Frenzied Flame ending, where you embrace nihilism and you take the frenzied flame within yourself and you
Ooh.
just destroy creation, I guess.
Yay.
Fun sound from me, guys.
You unleash an era of madness and destruction on the world.
It sounds like my kind of ending.
Why so serious? That's what that ending's
Can you
about.
team up with the Rot?
No.
Can you
Oh.
team up with the Cocoon Boy?
There's the Dung Eater ending, which is sort of like the broom closet ending of Elden Ring.
The Broom Closet
In which you just
ending
unleash
was my
you just
favorite.
unleash an era of pestilence around the world because you
Okay.
team up with the Dung Eater.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then the best one, in my opinion, is Ronnie's, in which you get the Finger Slayer blade. You get that. You help her basically make it so that when she ascends to godhood, she will have a body again.
Okay.
And you actually get to marry Ronnie.
Cool.
You literally
And
put a
you
ring.
become the consort to
Yes,
her.
you literally put a ring on her finger. It's very romantic.
Is she
And in
cool?
exchange, you get a cool sword.
Is she better
Nice.
than Merica?
Well, it seems like she's less duplicitous because she's very upfront with what she's going to do. And it's possible that this Age of the Stars thing is actually what humanity is doing.
Got
Or
it.
what's good for us.
Because
Yeah.
Merica is not Age of Stars.
He wants to
she's
keep the greater will going in some
Yeah.
strange
Okay,
state.
yeah.
She
so
wants all the
Ronnie's-
power that comes
Ronnie's
with it.
way cooler.
Yeah, so I like her. She's got 6 arms. She's some freaky sex.
That
shit.
is cool.
Mm.
I actually have a poster of her in my room.
Do you actually?
Yeah, I'll show you to you later.
Okay, cool.
It's not a sexy pinup, but it's just.
Oh,
So that is you. That is the game for the most part. I'm sure there's a few endings that are I'm forgetting because some of them are very slight tweaks. However, this shit is bullshit
Whoa.
Yay.
because
Board 2, board 2, board 2, board 2.
Revelations.
Woo! We're getting
So-
biblical with this shit.
Yeah.
There we are.
So,
Oh, yeah.
well, I gotta
take
keep
off
going.
all your
Yeah.
clothes.
So,
Me too.
we in the DLC you can go to the Shadowlands.
Ah.
If you have killed Moog, which you should,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a molester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sucks.
You can touch Mikola's body.
But that's a Moog thing to do.
Well,
That
it-
is a
his,
Moog
his
thing to
hand
do.
is outside of his cocoon.
Okay.
And you touch it, and it sends you into the Shadowlands.
Is that where
Okay.
his soul was this whole time?
Yes.
Hanging
the
out with
Shadowlands.
Mesmer or
Mhm.
whatever?
Yeah.
Is Mesmer there?
Mesmer's there. You can fight and kill him.
No, what? Why?
Well, put him out of his misery. He's on a never-ending death crusade.
And that's the
Okay,
werewolf
that's fair.
shadow guy, right?
No, Mesmer is the firstborn child who has body
Oh,
issues.
okay, yeah, he's one of the. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, however, we find something out. Moog was innocent.
What?
No.
He was. Mikella needed to kill himself in order to be to enter the lands of Shadow. So he mind controlled because part of his thing is that he has an ability, supernatural ability known as charm. Because people just love talking to a 12-year-old. And he charms them magically. This is like he's called Michaela the Kind. Michaela has charming to a supernatural degree, is what they've set up. He charms Moog to do this. So that basically he does this, it seems convoluted, but if he just dipped to the Shadowlands, everyone knew what he was doing, they'd be scrambling to go find him and stop him.
Yeah.
Because he wants to bring about his new era. However, he mind controlled Moog to do that. So Moog
stage a kidnapping?
Yeah. So Moog was not the Moog Lester, but he was Moog Lested. And that's the big reveal.
Well, okay, I get the kidnapping part. What's with the whole dynasty thing and the
Well, he was mind controlled.
But why was he mind controlled to do that?
It probably just made him do what he was.
Throw off the suspicion?
I think he was just a bad person already, so charming him made him do bad shit. Okay, maybe he wasn't innocent.
Yeah, I feel like there's maybe a part there that we were missing out.
Free Mo! Free Mo!
No, I'm not chanting that.
Out from me. What?
Wow.
So okay,
Still
hang
counting
on.
up, or still doing
Yeah, still counting up.
Yeah.
No, just keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. So you go here. I'm gonna give a few good just side things. You can go fight Baal the Dread, that dragon. However, as you're going up you have to climb up a mountain to go see him. As you're getting there, you meet Igon, and Igon says, "Come off the mountain with me, bro.
Wait,
we're gonna go fuck
Igon?
up." He's that
the
Drake
original.
Knight
Yeah.
who got his
Oh,
legs
the
destroyed.
Drake. The Drake.
And so he's like,
No, he's the
Drake Hunter.
Yeah, he's a Drake
It's
Hunter.
like-
he's a
he's
person.
like, take me up the mountain, bro, and we're gonna take him out.
Okay.
And so when you get up to Baal's cave, you can summon Igon. Dude has broken legs. He comes out with you, and he brings his bow, and he shoots as like a support.
That is
as a
badass.
support class for
Way
you.
to go.
And he says this: "Curse you, Baal! I hereby vow you rue this day. Behold, a true Drake warrior, and I, Igon, your fear-made flesh. Solid of scale you might be, foul dragon, but I will riddle you with holes your rotten hide, with a hail of harpoons, with every last drop of my being." It's badass. It's really good.
badass.
You have to climb an entire mountain and then bring the boy. So that's really cool.
Why? Okay, hang on. What is the character's motivation for even going to the Shadowlands? Because aren't you already the consort of the
So this, whenever you get the ending, it just resets you just before the ending. Just so you can keep on doing until you want to start a new game plus. It's like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
does
or
that.
Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you aren't even at the canon ending then. You're
Yeah,
just
you're
right
doing
before it.
So
Right.
everyone is saying someone needs to go help Michaela the Kind become a god.
Okay.
Because he seems like the best option aside from running.
But he turns out
Yeah.
to be evil bad because he.
You're
mind
assuming
control.
that just
He's
because you
good.
don't like.
The mind control was good.
Well, in Moog maybe. Anyways.
I'm generally okay.
So you basically just follow where a bunch of warriors are saying to go.
Sure.
And so across the thing, there's a bunch of minor things. You can kill Mesmer, put him out of his misery, whatever.
Yeah.
You can meet her, the mother of fingers. It turns out the fingers have been defective this whole time, so it may not even be transmitting the greater will.
Well, that seems problematic.
So yeah.
Why,
do a bunch
why
of
were
cool-
they defective? Was it because of the shattering?
No, probably before that.
Oh, okay.
Bad antennas.
Just shit the whole time.
So
Bad connection.
Yeah, bad
You go.
connection.
to the Gate of Divinity, and the Gate of Divinity is where America ascended to godhood.
Ah.
It is a giant gate made of corpses.
Oh.
Okay.
We find out the reason you need a consort in order to become a god. There is because you need it's a weird fucking in what is it in the third Guardians of the Galaxy, it's a freaky circle.
Yeah.
What happens is it's like a doorway.
Yeah.
And if you step through, you're gone. And if you were to walk around to the other side of the doorway, you just don't see anything. Like you didn't come out the other side. You need the consort to physically tether you as you walk through, and then they take your hand and they bring
Pull
you
you
back.
back through. Okay.
And so, assumably, whatever that metaphysical thing is, she's killed enough people or someone did, because it's probably the Corn Scent who
Yeah.
filed those bodies. Because it's in the middle of a Corn Scent city. Through that, you can achieve godhood.
Okay.
And so once you get there, you're like, all right, I guess maybe this Michaela guy either is or isn't cool. We'll find out.
Mhm.
Maybe this is another. Many people assumed the Michaela ending was going to be the next one.
Yeah.
However, as we have learned throughout the game, is that Michaela keeps getting sketchier and sketchier.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Because the Age of Compassion sounds great until his way. It seems like he wants to mind control everybody to make peace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't
Um,
seem very good.
No Warren Boss Say style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not the way we want to do things. And so when you get there, we see Michaela has achieved adult form now.
Oh.
He's legal, baby.
No.
No, he looks like a. He's
Wait,
just
why did
a-
I say no there?
Yeah. Yeah, no. He's just like an adult femboy.
This is like, but
Okay.
it's just like his soul? Because
Well-
his body's still in the cocoon?
In going to the lands of shadow, somehow he's been able to manifest himself.
He has
Because
another body.
Because when you
Yes.
see him, he's walking back from the god gate.
And he's
So
a,
he's become a god.
he's a god femboy.
Yeah, a god.
And an
femboy.
adult.
And an adult.
And an adult's body.
Legal age. Legal age.
Legal age.
Legal
Legal
age.
body. Very good.
Legal soul.
But probably a bad guy.
Yeah, but that means who is this consort?
Ooh.
Because he's walked back.
Yeah.
You see Moog's corpse there. He
Huh.
snaps his fingers. Moog's corpse rises up and starts getting mangled.
What?
It reshapes itself into Radon.
Which
Turns
one?
out- The warrior got himbo guy.
Oh.
It turns out his Michaela's half brother. So Radon reforms himself. It turns out long ago Michaela made Radon swear a pact that if he ascended to godhood, he would be his consort.
Okay.
Because
That's
I guess Radon's bisexual.
Oh, just like a random pact one day, just like, hey,
Well,
you know, it's a
Radon's
one-off thing.
stupid and very loyal,
Mhm.
so he just
He's like a
made-
Kronk.
yeah, he's a Kronk type guy, and he's like, hey, bro, you want to smash thousands of years in the future and found a dynasty together? I guess. Cool.
He's like, I'm in.
So Radon, bisexual icon.
Bisexual femboy relationship representation in Elden Ring.
Who's his half brother?
Incestual relationship.
Yeah.
Well, with the whole other thing with the cocoon, where he was mind controlling the guy,
Moog.
isn't that like self-cessed?
No,
At
because
that
it's
point-
brothers.
But
not
he's mind
person.
controlling him.
Maybe.
These are the important questions that Elden Ring poses us.
This
Is that
guy's-
if our brother mind controls us to fuck them, is it gay? These are the questions.
Yes.
These are the
At
questions.
least one of them in that equation is gay.
So
Yeah.
do you fight Cocoon Boy?
So no, you fight. He hops up on Radon's back,
Oh my god.
and so there
As
is
an
a
adult?
yeah, there is a boss on because Radon's huge as fuck.
Oh, okay.
Like 12 foot, right? That's gonna be
14
left
foot.
like
Maybe
a horse.
taller now that he's been reborn.
Oh,
Because
right.
you're fighting him in his prime now, not the
Got it.
the mangled one you fought.
Okay.
And so you fight him, and you kill him, and you kill Radon. Importantly, throughout the fight is that you're fighting Radon, who's swinging blades and stuff and doing his thing. However, the best way to attack him is to go around to the back and start hitting.
Mikhail?
Oh yeah,
On
hitting
his
the
back.
hitting the gay guy.
Yeah.
Hitting the femboy, which is a hate crime. Don't do it. However, if you stay too close, like you have to just attack and get out. If you stay too close, Michaela puts his hands on you, and the death screen says charmed. So like he was
Oh.
able to mind control
I
you.
see.
And so eventually you're able to defeat them, and you have averted the Age of Compassion.
Good.
Cool.
Good shit.
And so that is the end of Elden
Do
Ring.
you not get your own
God?
No, because you aren't the Empyrean.
Yeah, you
can't
have
go
to be
through
the
door.
consort.
Is there no other god? Would you just go back and do the normal ending then?
Yes.
Okay, I see.
So any final questions on Elden Ring?
Is it presumed if you don't do the DLC and that if you just do the normal ending that the Age of Compassion happens?
Probably. Because here's the
Because
thing.
it's
If
not
you were
inverted or
well, yeah.
whatever?
So here's the thing. If you were to become the consort of Marika or of Ronnie,
Yeah.
you would probably have to fight, like, later on, fight Michaela. Because Michaela would sneak attack from the lands of shadow, probably emerge with his army.
He would be a god, and
So it'd
the
be a
other
god
one would
fight.
still be like America or Ronnie would be a god too. So it'd be like
Yeah.
a god v god fight, and you'd be like their little pawn, and you'd have to like fight and probably get
It's-
killed.
It's unclear what outer god Michaela channeled to do so.
Okay.
We just don't know at this point.
Cthulhu.
It's possible. So all of the games thus far have had 2 DLCs. There may be another one coming.
That would be cool.
Yeah.